Imagine a company so powerful it has its own army. Imagine a business model so ruthless it intentionally bankrupts an entire civilization just to fix a bookkeeping error. And imagine this isn't science fiction. It is the true story of how your morning cup of tea once caused the collapse of the world's biggest empire. We are taught that wars are fought for land, or religion, or freedom. But the most destructive conflict of the 19th century wasn't fought for any of that. It was fought for a product, a single, addictive commodity that one country forced another to buy at gunpoint. This is the story of how the British Empire executed the largest corporate heist in human history, draining a superpower of its wealth and replacing it with smoke. And it all started because the British really liked leaves. To understand this disaster, you have to look at the scoreboard in the year 1800. In the red corner, you have Britain, a rising industrial powerhouse with a massive problem. They are obsessed with Chinese luxury goods, silk, porcelain, and above all, tea. But in the blue corner, you have the Qing dynasty, and they are untouchable. China is the economic center of the world. They have the tech, the resources, and the population. And most importantly, they have zero interest in anything Britain is selling. British merchants would show up with wool coats and clocks, and the Chinese merchants would politely say, "No thanks, we're good." This created a massive trade imbalance. Britain was buying millions of pounds of tea, but they had to pay for it in silver. The result? Britain was hemorrhaging money. Their national treasury was literally emptying out and flowing into China. The British Empire was facing a financial crisis. They needed a product that China had to buy, something that would force the silver to flow back. They didn't have a better textile. They didn't have a better spice. But they did have a colony in India. And in that colony, they found a plant. Enter the hero of our tragedy, Commissioner Lin Zexu. The emperor sent him to Canton with a simple order: stop the trade. Lin was incorruptible. He didn't just arrest the local dealers. He went after the source. He surrounded the foreign merchant quarter and issued an ultimatum: hand over the inventory or face the consequences. The merchants caved. They surrendered over 20,000 chests of the product. That's over 2 million pounds of contraband. And Lin didn't steal it. He didn't sell it. He destroyed it. For weeks, he mixed it with lime and salt and flushed it into the ocean. Lin even wrote a letter to Queen Victoria. It's one of the most famous, unread messages in history. He asked a simple moral question: you do not allow this poison in your own country. How can you justify pushing it on ours? The Queen never replied, but the British Navy did. When news reached London that China had destroyed British property, the debate wasn't about morality. It was about money. Parliament framed it as an attack on free trade. They sent the fleet. This is where the story turns into a slaughter. The Chinese military was brave, but they were bringing swords and matchlocks to a fight against the world's first industrial war machine. The British had the Nemesis, an iron-hulled, steam-powered warship that could sail against the wind and shallow waters. It was like an alien spaceship arriving in the Middle Ages. The British fleet systematically dismantled the Chinese coast. They didn't just defeat the Qing military, they broke it. They sailed up the Yangtze River and held the city of Nanjing hostage. China had no choice. They surrendered. The peace treaty was even worse than the war. The Treaty of Nanjing didn't just end the conflict. It rewrote the rules of the world. China had to pay for the war and the destroyed contraband. They had to open more ports to British trade. They had to hand over a little island called Hong Kong. And the trade? It continued. In fact, it exploded. A few years later, Britain and France came back for round two, burning the emperor's summer palace to the ground, a cultural atrocity comparable to burning the Louvre. This kicked off what China calls the century of humiliation. For the next 100 years, the once untouchable empire was carved up, exploited, and destabilized. The dynasty eventually collapsed, leading to decades of chaos that shaped the modern world we live in today. History is often written by the victors, but the receipts don't lie. This wasn't a war of glory. It was a war of greed. A reminder that when profit becomes the only metric of success, morality is the first casualty. If you think this kind of economic warfare is a thing of the past, look around. The products change, but the tactics? They stay the same. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about other specific geopolitical event, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.